Hello class, this is section 8.1, that's chapter 8, section 1 on the early Hebrews. We have three main ideas in this section, or actually it's four. Number one, Abraham and Moses led the Hebrews to Canaan into a new religion. Number two, strong kings united the Israelites to fight off invaders. Number three, invaders conquered and ruled the Hebrews after the kingdom broke apart. And four, some women in Hebrew society made great contributions to their history. All right, so starting off here, Hebrew scribes, scribes are just writers, right? So Hebrew writers, Hebrew scribes, left historical record that became the Hebrew Bible. Okay, and that's the main text that they would have used and read and studied and would have based their religion off of. Abraham, okay, who was chosen by his God, left his home in Mesopotamia, which we just studied before, specifically the city-state of Ur, to Canaan, right? So Abraham was a biblical figure, and according to the Bible, God led Abraham to Canaan, and Abraham's descendants became the Jewish people. All right, so that's a little more about Abraham. So again, he was chosen by God, left Mesopotamia to go to this chosen land, their promised land of Canaan, and eventually Hebrews suffered from famine, which means they didn't have enough food, and were forced to move out of Egypt. Okay, and you can see here in the bottom right picture, the Egyptians enslaved the Hebrews. In Egypt, a figure named Moses, who again is a biblical figure, and according to the Bible, he led the Hebrew people out of Egypt and back to Canaan in the Exodus. Right, so that journey out of Egypt that was led by Moses is called the Exodus. And during this journey, Moses received the 10 Commandments. Okay, which those 10 Commandments are a set of laws that the Hebrews agreed to follow. Okay, and you can see here in the pictures Moses here on the left. That's seen in the Exodus. Again, there's another same scene in the Exodus there on the right, and then the bottom is him receiving the 10 Commandments from his God. The next section is on kings uniting the Israelites. So starting with the Philistines threatened the Hebrew people, right? So they fought, the Hebrews and the Philistines fought a lot. And King Saul was the first named Hebrew king, and he was a strong military commander, but a weak king overall. He wasn't good at organizing people and wasn't the best leader. He was a good military commander, but beyond that, didn't have a lot to offer. After that came King David. Okay, so King David, he was the second king of Israel. He defeated the Philistines and established the capital in Jerusalem as a governmental and religious center. So Jerusalem became the government center, but also the religious center. It was all there in one place. And David he had strong military skills, right? He was a poet, and again, he established capital in Jerusalem. So these pictures you can see here on the left, that's the story of David and Goliath, right? David, the smaller figure with the sling, Goliath, the bigger figure. Top right, you can see David with his harp, right? He played that instrument, and bottom right is just him ruling. Oh, and the blue star, that's called the Star of David, which is an important symbol within Judaism. Next, we have King Solomon. He was the son of David, and he was also a strong king. He, on the top left here, he built a temple to his God in Jerusalem. The bottom picture shows us a story that shows Solomon's wisdom. He was known for how wise and smart he was. You'll see this story at some point within this unit. He expanded the empire that his father David built. So you can see the red area is Israel before David became king. The orange area is is the area conquered by David that was inherited by Solomon. So it grew a lot under David, and then it grew even more to the north, especially under Solomon. You can see there. But yeah, King Solomon was big on expanding land, trading with other empires around the region, that sort of thing. Eventually, um, when Solomon died, violence emerged in Jerusalem because there wasn't any strong leader to lead the people. And what happened was Israel split into two, and you can see here it's split into Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Eventually, both the kingdoms were conquered, and it got so bad that Jews, at a certain point, Jews are marched to Babylon and enslaved, and this is known as the Babylonian captivity. Um, when the Jews were given freedom, they spread around the area, this term is known as the diaspora, which is the scattering of the Jews outside of Canaan after the Babylonian captivity. So it's just the fact that they moved all over the region in Asia and Europe, but beyond that, eventually into the other areas as well. And the Jews continued to fight for freedom against the Romans thereafter, once they returned to the area around Israel. And that's what you see here on the right. You see more fighting between the Romans and the Jews, and a lot of violence, a lot of anguish for the Jews. The last section is on women in Hebrew society. So women had few rights in Hebrew society, which is what this, obviously the bottom right here represents. Women didn't have many rights, but there were some important women in Hebrew history, including Queen Esther, Judge Deborah, and Miriam. So you can see here some of these pictures here. Miriam would be on the left, right? Miriam was Moses' older sister. You can see Judge Deborah in the middle, and Queen Esther on the right. But one story in particular that shows many values of Judaism and the Hebrew beliefs is the story of Ruth and Naomi. So Ruth was seen as an example of devotion to family. Ruth is the younger woman on the left. Her husband died, her husband was the older woman's son, so this is her mother-in-law. So Ruth chose to stay with her mother-in-law and take care of her. And again, this was seen as an example of devotion to her family. So the big idea for this section, right, this section 8.1 on the early Hebrews, is that originally desert nomads, the Hebrews established a great kingdom called Israel. All right, and that's the section. Thank you.